Round of applause for DT. He gets the Man of the Debate award of having the best point of all the ArsenalFanTV regulars. Troopz made a good statement too, but I'll get to him and the others later because I thought that their points were essentially the same, just reworded differently. DT had the only original argument, which is that Arsenal have not improved no matter who they sign or how much is spent. That's a view that I've held for years, and it totally blew apart Gary Neville's argument on net spend. Here's a clip.
His acceptance to accept just top four. Us as fans have had enough of that now. We believe we've gone past the period of moving into the stadium and, you know, where we accepted that Arsene Wenger was doing a great job in that initial period. To do what he did was amazing. But we've come to that point now where we can spend the money. We've got top draw, world-class players in certain positions, but yet we're failing year in, year out. And there's no difference to our team in terms of failure when we had Shamak up front or Alexis Sanchez up front. The same problems and the same failings are rearing their head at the same points of the season every single year.
I want to delve deeper into DT's point before I move on to the others because it's the main reason why I believe Arsene Wenger has to leave. Cast your mind back to between 2006 and 2011. The age of austerity, when Arsene Wenger wouldn't spend a dime and prefers / was forced to develop his players. That just might be the greatest work in his managerial history. Of course, Arsenal didn't win a thing during this era, so in that regard, it ranks far below his work during the Invincibles era. But when you consider that Arsenal were extremely competitive in an era where the top 4 Premier League clubs were among the top 6 in the world, including AC Milan and Barcelona, you begin to realise the fantastic job Arsene Wenger did in those 5 years. They nearly won the Champions League in 06 and they reached the semis in 09. On 3 separate occasions in the seasons of 2007-2008, 2009-2010 and 2010-2011, they challenged extensively for the Premier League and they nearly won the Capital One Cup on several occasions. Like I said, they didn't win a thing, but they were the victim of the times. They competed in the strongest ever era of the Premier League. Arsenal of 06-2011 would smoke the Premier League right now, which is arguably the weakest it has ever been. That's why DT said we gave Arsenal a pass during those years. It was remarkable Arsenal were even keeping pace with the free spending Chelsea and United in the first place. It showed Arsene Wenger still had it, and it gave hope that once the austerity was over, Arsenal had the man in charge to take them back to the top. But then, the mass exodus of 2011 happened. That's when Cesc, Nasri and Song all left within the same season. And it was at that point Wenger should have flexed his financial muscles, but he didn't. And the following 2 years were a struggle. The absolute worst team Arsenal had in 20 years of the current regime. Were it not for Robin van Persie having the mother of all seasons, and Tottenham twice ballsing it up, Arsenal wouldn't have qualified for the Champions League in the first place. Since 2013, Ozil, Sanchez, Xhaka and Mustafi have been signed for over 30 million, whilst Petr Cech also came with a massive reputation. Yet the same mistakes and the same flaws keep repeating themselves and leads to the same results. Getting knocked out the last 16 of the Champions League and not challenging for the Premier League title. Arsenal haven't challenged since 2011, which was the last season before Fabregas left the club, and that's why it was so symbolic that he scored in the 3-1 loss and it was Cech who made the mistake. Like DT said, whether it's Sanchez or Chamak, Cech or Szczesny, Mustafi or Silvestre, Arsenal just cannot improve. If Wenger bought Messi tomorrow, Arsenal would still come fourth. The problem isn't net spend, Gary Neville, it's Wenger. And that brings me on to my second talking point, Troopz.
The only thing that got me irritated with you was you calling ArsenalFanTV embarrassing. My thing is that the whole media in general, because I've got a lot of stick from Jason Cundy this week, saying that people who say blood and family are not entitled to an opinion. So for me, it's a bit snobbish, because it comes to me like, because you lot are getting paid for your opinion, my opinion is not valued, and because I'm not media trained like you lot, that we're just gonna push it under the carpet kind of thing. And I think that's disrespectful, because every fan is entitled to their opinion, no matter what background you're from, where you're from, it don't matter.
Back on his point further, yesterday, a Sky Sports presenter subliminally mocked Troopz for the way he speaks, which is actually a bit rich considering Paul Merson was sat a few yards laughing away when the joke was made. Merson can barely string a coherent sentence together, yet you want to low-key discriminate someone for the slang that they speak. Okay. It just goes to show that they don't care about us. All we are to them is a paycheck. Our opinions don't matter. The closer Sky Sports get to taking on board public views is their social media stuff on the Sky Pad, but even that's just for the celebrities. Real talk, if it isn't funny, I don't care what Paula Radcliffe or Piers Morgan have to say on football. Most of the time, it isn't even insightful. This is what they used to cover Bayern Munich thrashing Arsenal. Don't care! Use that time to bring up an intelligent view from someone from the public. Trust me, it would make someone's day by making their point the subject of discussion and would ensure a higher audience retention. Before YouTube, I used to have a blog, and trust me, it's very easy to trawl through social media, find a pertinent point, and then embed it into what you're doing. If I could do it, imagine what Sky Sports could do with their resources. BT tried to some degree with their programme Premier League Tonight, and so do BBC with their radio call-in show 606. They are both promoted as a place where fans set the agenda. The issue I have with both platforms is that they both still hold pundits to a glorified standard. Their word is final and deemed correct. The way fans are shut down is almost as bad as how Troopz got it. And why? A lot of these pundits are about as insightful and analytical as the geezer in your boozer. For example, Huddle, Gerrard and Ferdinand all saying that Barcelona will win the Champions League this season. If you're subscribed to my channel or you follow me on Twitter, you'd know that Barcelona have been poor all season. Yet these three so-called experts didn't have a friggin' clue. They should have had a Spanish expert in the studio. Having an outside perspective can only develop a narrative and keep things from going stale. Far too many of these pundits have carbon copy opinions of each other. Paul Merson, Ian Wright, Chris Sutton and Robbie Savage are the absolute worst. But even the very best like Gary Neville drop cliches that aren't checked. His whole argument on net spend is redundant and very Premier League centric. If you look at what Atletico Madrid, Juventus, Borussia Dortmund and Sevilla have all achieved since 2011, it is proof in the pudding that you do not need to spend astronomically to attain success. What those four have done far surpasses City and United, who have spent way more than Arsenal. In fact, both finished behind Arsenal in the table last season, and Arsenal have won more trophies than Liverpool and United combined since 2014. It's not how much you spend, but how you spend. Now you tell me, how many pundits have said that? I'll tell you, none. Because they all incorrectly believe that the Premier League is the be-all and end-all, and that only a marquee player can perform in the Premier League. Not me. I was one of the only people saying that Arsenal and United shouldn't have signed Ozil and Pogba. If only Sky Sports had someone like me to provide fresh perspective, fans would be more informed. But hey, what do I know? I'm just an ordinary member of the public. I'm about to finish, so I just want to say big up to Robbie for setting it up. With the exception of Lee, it was the strongest lineup possible. All the more reason why I was really disappointed in Moh. Beforehand, he came across as a calm, emotionless intellectual, but he really struggles to get his points across. He spent over 10 minutes on one topic and delivered it in a very PowerPoint scripted way.
And I just wanted to clarify now, those three things. The first thing, calling a fan an idiot on national TV, national live TV, then saying ArsenalFanTV or the whole thing around it is embarrassing, and tweeting a clown emoji to ArsenalFanTV. Do you still stand by all of these things, or has there been any time for reflection and maybe a change?
You've done a presentation course, haven't you? He's made his point, he's made it again, he's made it again. Congratulations. Not just what
I think with Moh's style, it's very indirect, and in a cutthroat environment, big words just come across as nerdy. I will say that he was the one person who tried to argue back and forth with Neville. One thing I will say to defend Moh though, is that he was the only one who tried to argue back and forth with Neville, which is actually the true spirit of the debate, unlike Claude, who I felt was too respectful and allowed Neville to control the debate and never argued back with solid points. And that's a shame, because his question led Neville to defend Arsene Wenger's regime, which should have been the main topic of discussion, not Moh and Neville going back and forth over the word idiot. Ultimately, I had great expectation for the debate and it fell short. DT and Troopz had good arguments, which I have expanded on, but maybe in the system that they were in, they just couldn't. After all, 36 minutes divided between 6 people only gives 6 minutes for each person to talk, and Moh went way over his slot. Let me know what you thought in the comment section, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more videos.
It's Big Boy Scoop keeping YouTubers in the loop, and I just want to say that you're awesome. Why? Because you're watching a channel dedicated to football analysis. How will you stay awesome? Well, you gotta do two things. Subscribe and immediately click the bell afterwards so that you get a notification whenever I upload a video. Capiche?